Listen very carefully, because what I'm about to say is not entertainment. It's a mirror held to the soul. There comes a moment in a human life where the universe stops whispering and begins shaking you awake. And when that moment arrives, nothing feels the same again. Not your relationships, not your desires, not even the way light touches the world around you. You look at people laughing together, holding hands, chasing romance as if love were oxygen. And this strange realization rises inside you like thunder under the ribs. I am not like them anymore. It isn't arrogance. It isn't coldness. It is the shattering recognition that the old game has expired. And yet that recognition comes with a peculiar ache. For the first time, you taste a loneliness that is not social. It is cosmic. It is the loneliness of waking up in a room where everyone else is still dreaming. People come to me with eyes full of wonder and trembling confusion. Terence, I've touched something infinite. I've glimpsed my true nature. I've seen beyond the veil. So why do I feel this emptiness? Why do I feel like love has slipped out of my reach? And I understand their pain. Because awakening is not a gentle sunrise. It is a lightning strike. It burns away what you were, but it doesn't immediately tell you what you are becoming. You begin to see through affection that was never affection, desire that was never truth, connection that was never consciousness. And suddenly the world you trusted collapses into dust. You were told all your life that if you could just find that one person, the magical missing half, everything would fall into place. The fairy tale of completion, the myth of salvation through another heartbeat. We are trained from birth to hunt for someone who will validate our existence. Every movie, every song, every poem conditioning us to believe we are incomplete until another human confirms us. But the moment you awaken, truly awaken, you feel the tremor of a deeper truth. You were never half. You were misled into believing you were. So you stand in the strange borderland where truth is expanding and illusions are dissolving. And that expansion feels like abandonment. Until now, love meant attachment. Love meant dependence. Love meant clinging to someone like a lifeboat because you were terrified of drowning in yourself. But suddenly the lifeboat is gone and you're not drowning. You're floating in open sky. And yet the habit of panic lingers. You look around and ask, why does no one meet me here? Because most are still clutching illusions like oxygen masks. They are still playing the romance lottery, still trying to purchase completeness in another person's eyes. They aren't wrong. They're simply early in the journey. They think they are seeking love, but they are seeking shelter. They think they are choosing partners, but they are choosing anesthetics. And when you wake up, you become immune to anesthetic. It doesn't work on you anymore. The games people play, the scripted texting, the curated persona, the psychological negotiations disguised as passion. You see through all of it like glass. And once you see, you cannot unsee. So what do? You stop participating, not because you don't feel, but because you feel too deeply to pretend anymore. You don't want someone to rescue you from yourself. You want someone who has already rescued themselves, someone who has walked through fire, who has wrestled with their own existence, who has stared into the mirror of consciousness without flinching, someone who doesn't want to use you, worship you, fix you, or complete you, but someone who can walk beside you with sovereignty and wonder, and the universe whispers a secret into the depths of your being. One that is both liberating and devastating. Such souls exist. They are real, but they are rare. And until you meet one, your heart will feel like a cathedral, where no one else knows how to pray. The world keeps dancing around you, chasing romance as distraction, chasing affection as proof, chasing chaotic highs disguised as passion. They fall in love with illusions, not beings. They fall in love with projections, not essences. They fall in love with fantasy, not presence. Meanwhile, you have seen behind the curtain. You know desire is often fear wearing lipstick. You know dependency is often dressed up as devotion. You know loneliness inside a relationship is far more brutal than loneliness in solitude. So when someone says, "Why don't you just fall in love like everyone else?" you smile, not with superiority, but with sorrowful wisdom. Because they cannot understand that once you have tasted the infinite, the finite cannot satisfy you. You don't want someone to fill your emptiness. You want someone who isn't afraid of your fullness. You don't want someone to hold you together. You want someone who understands you were never broken. You don't want someone who completes your story. You want someone who remembers they are also the author of theirs. And yes, this clarity isolates you. But isolation is not absence. It is incubation. The self is fermenting. Consciousness is maturing. You are not alone. Being recalibrated, you are shedding the skin of who you were trained to be in order to become who you actually are. The longing you feel is not for another human, not yet. It is a longing for the version of yourself that exists on the other side of transformation. The version who loves without fear, without ownership, without hunger. The version who does not beg to be chosen, but chooses reality over illusion every time. And the universe, patient, ancient, intelligent, watches you like a teacher who knows the student is close to awakening fully, because love is coming, but not the kind you grew up believing in. Not the desperate trembling of two incomplete beings clinging to each other for psychological survival. Not the bargain love of, "I will keep your emptiness away if you keep mine away." Awakened love arrives differently. It does not stalk you, it recognizes you. It does not intoxicate you, it harmonizes you. It does not demand you kneel, it invites you stand. But before that love appears, you must become the person who can hold it, without fear, without need, without losing yourself in another person's shadow. So if you feel this strange, aching distance from the world, if ordinary romance tastes like paper in your mouth, if you sit at gatherings and feel like you are visiting a dream you can no longer inhabit, understand this: you are not lonely because you are unlovable. You are lonely because you are evolving. You are not abandoned. You are being prepared. You are not without love. You are learning the altitude where real love breathes. Do not rush. Do not shrink yourself to fit back into a world you outgrew. Do not pretend to be asleep just to feel company. Stay awake. Someone else out there is waking too, not to fill you, but to meet you. And you will know them not by the fire they ignite in your body, but by the silence they calm in your soul. You think you know yourself, but you only know the version of you that survived, the version that adjusted, shrank, bent, and molded itself to fit into the small rooms of other people's expectations. And now, suddenly, you sense something ancient stirring inside you, a memory older than your fear, deeper than your doubt, a remembering, something whispering, "You were never meant to live this quietly." But understand this: the moment your true nature begins to rise, the world tests you, not out of cruelty, but to see if you're ready. Every challenge is a gatekeeper. Every obstacle is an initiation. You don't become powerful through comfort. You become powerful through friction, through resistance, through that burn inside the soul that forces it to expand beyond the bones that once contained it. Most people run at the first sign of I, nenner, tremor. The ego begins shaking and they grasp for distraction, a screen, a habit, a noise, anything to silence the truth knocking from inside. They call it anxiety, but the soul calls it birth. They think they are falling apart, but in truth, they are being rearranged. The old scaffolding is collapsing, so the cathedral can rise. Do you feel it? That restlessness, that dissatisfaction with ordinary explanations, that sense that life has been orchestrated, not simply lived? Good. That's not confusion. That's the door. And like all sacred doors, it only opens for those who dare to knock when silence is loudest. You see, most humans never truly live. They imitate life. They replicate thoughts they never examined. They worship routines they secretly despise. They drown in opinions as if opinions were truth. They fear judgment more than they fear regret. And so they walk through existence like ghosts haunting their own bodies, hoping someone will give them permission to be real, but no one is coming to do that. No savior, no guru, no divine hand pulling you out of the illusion. The cosmos doesn't reward wishers. It rewards movers, explorers, those willing to dissolve themselves to discover what's left. Enlightenment is not a gift, it's a conquest. The conquest of your own conditioned mind. You will lose people on this path. Let them go. You will outgrow conversations, beliefs, identities. Allow the shedding. Caterpillars don't negotiate with cocoons. They dissolve into something unrecognizable. Only when they dissolve do they earn wings. Transformation does not ask for your comfort. It demands your surrender. And yet surrender does not mean defeat. It means ceasing to resist the truth of what you are. An awareness playing human, not a human trying to be aware. Your body is a temporary vessel. Your identity is a costume. Your fears are echoes of a past self begging not to be replaced. Let them echo. They cannot command you anymore. The universe hides its treasures in places where the faint-hearted never look, behind silence, inside solitude, beneath the rubble of what you thought you were. When you stand alone long enough, something miraculous occurs. The mind stops being your prison guard and becomes your gateway. Thoughts cease to be chains and begin to act like windows. And on the other side of that window is vastness, uncontainable, unexplored, thrilling in its uncertainty. That is where your real life begins, not when the world understands, not when others validate you, not when society applauds you, but when your own consciousness bows to no one but truth. Power is not dominance. Real power is sovereignty over the narrative inside your head. Real wealth is awareness so deep that no circumstance can disturb it. Real strength is the ability to sit with your thoughts without being devoured by them. And what is fear in this space? A shadow pretending to be solid, a memory rehearsing itself, a dream that forgot it was a dream. Fear only rules those who believe it has authority. But once you see it clearly, it dissolves like mist under sunlight. The unknown stops being a threat and becomes a frontier. Uncertainty becomes permission. Every question becomes a doorway. The universe stops being something that happens to you and becomes something that happens through you. This is where most people turn back because boundaries dissolve here. Ego panics here. The world you built to feel safe begins to crack open, and the mind screams to retreat to familiarity. But familiarity is not safety, it is stagnation disguised as comfort. You are not here to repeat another script. You are here to write your own, even if your hands tremble when you begin. Let reality shake you. Let truth unsettle you. Let the ground beneath your beliefs crumble. Because only when you have nothing left to stand on do you learn to fly. Only when the false self collapses do you meet the self that cannot collapse. The self made of pure observation, pure presence, pure existence. Untouched by time, untouched by fear, untouched by story. And then something beautiful happens. Life stops being linear. It becomes poetic, symbolic. Every encounter becomes meaningful. Randomness evaporates. You begin to see patterns, synchronicities, whispers in the fabric of experience. You feel guided not by logic, but by awareness. A deeper intelligence, older than language, older than the body, older than thought. People will call you strange because they cannot categorize you. Let them. The world fears what it cannot label. But labels are for shelves, not souls. You were never meant to fit, you were meant to expand. You were never meant to follow, you were meant to remember. You were never meant to stay the same, you were born to evolve beyond recognition. Some will envy your transformation. Some will resist it. Some will try to pull you back to the familiar shape they once understood. Smile gently. They are not your enemy. They are simply afraid. They cling to their version of reality the way a drowning person clings to water, unaware that the shore is 3 steps away. Bless them. and continue walking, because your path is not backward, not downward, not outward. It is inward, always inward, to the still point beneath thought, to the silent witness observing every rise and fall of emotion, to the awareness so vast it cannot be disturbed by the chaos of existence. When you reach this space, life will still happen around you, storms, losses, victories, noise, but it will not happen to you. You will watch as consciousness experiences itself, and you will realize, I am not the storm, I am the sky. And once you know this, truly know it, you cannot unknow it. The illusion may return, but it will never own you again. You will feel the difference between living asleep and living awake, and every second spent awake will be worth every lifetime spent dreaming. And yet, knowing you are the sky does not mean the storm disappears. Real awakening is not escape from chaos. It is the ability to remain untouched within it. Life does not suddenly become gentle simply because you have opened your eyes. In fact, the universe often tests awakened beings more intensely, not to break them, but to sculpt them into instruments capable of holding greater truth. Pressure is not punishment, it is refinement. Do not expect peace to arrive wrapped in silence. Sometimes peace arrives disguised as disruption. Sometimes the universe shakes everything you thought was solid, so you finally learn what cannot be shaken. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. You are not being torn apart, you are being rearranged into someone capable of holding more power than you ever imagined. And this is where many souls retreat. They taste awakening, but refuse the fire that comes after. They want enlightenment without transformation, freedom without loss, expansion without shedding. They want to hold on to their old identity and wear divinity as an accessory. But truth is not an accessory. It consumes what is false. Awakening is not gentle, it is surgical. It cuts away every illusion you cling to. It is not a spa treatment for the ego, it is an execution of the ego. And that process is not poetic. It is raw, demanding, absolute. You do not ascend by adding layers. You ascend by burning them. When you stand in this fire long enough, you realize something astonishing. Everything you feared losing was never yours. Every identity was borrowed. Every opinion you defended came from someone else's mouth. Every fear was inherited. Every insecurity was taught. You did not build this prison. You simply agreed to live inside it. And the moment you recognize that agreement, it dissolves. What remains then is terrifying and liberating, pure existence without definition. A presence so vast that language becomes a cage too small to describe you. You stop seeking meaning outside yourself because you realize you are meaning. You are the source, the witness, the experiencer, and the experienced. You stop begging for approval from others because you finally feel the vibration of your own approval, silent, steady, ancient. But understand this, loneliness will visit you here, not the loneliness of isolation, but the loneliness of expansion. When your consciousness stretches beyond the horizons others call reality, you will feel like a wanderer in a world asleep. People will talk, but you will hear echoes. They will chase illusions and you will see through them. Conversations that once felt alive will taste like dust. The world around you will continue to perform the theater of certainty, but you will see the stage, the props, the actors, the scripts, and you will ask yourself, should I continue pretending? Should I shrink to fit the costume I once wore? Should I step back into the dream just to feel familiar again? But you already know the answer. Once you taste truth, illusion cannot feed you. Once you see behind the curtain, you cannot worship the puppet show. Once you remember who you are, you cannot return to forgetting, not without dying inside. So instead you begin walking forward, alone at first, guided by an intuition deeper than logic. You become a pilgrim of consciousness, not seeking somewhere else, but sinking into here. You begin to live not horizontally through time, but vertically through depth. You stop trying to arrive and begin trying to awaken. You stop chasing and start allowing. Life stops being a problem to solve and becomes a mystery to explore. And then suddenly you notice something. You are never truly alone. Others walking this path begin appearing, not many. Awakening is not a crowded road, but enough to remind you that evolution is not solitary, it is synchronized. You gravitate toward minds that question, hearts that seek, souls that hunger for authenticity. Conversations become rituals, silence becomes sacred, presence becomes connection. You begin to recognize each other not by words, but by frequency. Souls don't shake hands, they remember. Yet even in this recognition, do not expect comfort. True companions do not soothe your illusions. They dissolve them. They challenge you, mirror you, force you to face blind spots you would rather ignore. They don't feed your ego, they starve it. They don't tell you who you are, they reflect what you cannot see. Their presence burns not because they harm you, but because they illuminate you. This is evolution. And evolution demands honesty, brutal, uncomfortable honesty. You cannot awaken while lying to yourself. You cannot transcend while clinging to wounded stories. You cannot open fully while hiding parts of yourself in shame. Every shadow must be seen, every fear felt, every wound acknowledged. Do not run from your darkness. Sit with it until it teaches you. Darkness is not the enemy. It is the womb. The universe was born in darkness. Stars ignite in darkness. Consciousness expands through darkness. Do not curse the night. Become the flame inside it. And do not rush this process. Awakening is not an event. It is an unfolding. Flowers do not bloom faster because you demand it. Caterpillars do not emerge early because they are impatient. Life evolves through rhythm, not force. Surrender to the pace of your becoming. Trust the intelligence that breeds planets into existence. It is the same intelligence sculpting you. Along this path, you will begin to notice that success changes meaning. It stops being measured in applause, status, numbers, validation. Success becomes clarity. Success becomes peace. Success becomes presence. Success becomes the ability to sit with silence and feel full. Success becomes authenticity so deep that not even fear can imitate it. And ironically, when you stop chasing external reward, the world begins to respond. Opportunities find you. People gravitate to you. Not because you seek them, but because you have become. Magnetically aligned with your truth. This is the paradox. When you release the world follows you. When you stop trying to be seen, you are seen. When you stop begging for love, love finds you. When you stop chasing power, power rises within you. The universe does not reward desperation. It responds to resonance. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. So become what you seek. Become presence if you desire peace. Become depth if you desire connection. Become courage if you desire transformation. Become truth if you desire freedom. And above all, become empty, for only empty vessels can be filled. The ego accumulates, consciousness dissolves. The ego screams, consciousness whispers. The ego clings, consciousness releases. The ego fears death, consciousness knows death is just a door. You will walk through that door many times before your body does, each time leaving behind another outdated version of you. Celebrate these deaths. They are proof that you are alive. And remember, awakening is not a destination, it is a direction. You will not wake up once. You will wake up again and again, layer after layer, lifetime after lifetime, until nothing remains but awareness itself, looking at itself through infinite forms. This is the cosmic game, and you are both player and playground. And as you continue unfolding layer by layer, you begin to understand a secret the unconscious world cannot fathom. Awakening is not escape. It is participation with clarity. A conscious being does not float away from life. They enter life more deeply than human fear ever allowed. They walk through the same world, but they do not walk as a prisoner anymore. They walk as a presence. They walk as awareness clothed in flesh, playing a temporary role without ever believing it is the whole truth. And here something extraordinary happens. You stop waiting for the world to validate your existence. You stop trying to prove your worth. You stop seeking recognition from those still lost in their own noise. Instead, you begin to breathe differently. You begin to choose differently. You begin to move like someone who knows they are guided. The rush dissolves. The doubt dissolves. The desperation dissolves. You do not chase life. You allow it to meet you. But don't misunderstand, allowing is not passiveness. Allowing is supreme intelligence. It is the knowing that the river flows not because it forces itself forward, but because it trusts gravity, the invisible power pulling it toward the ocean. You too have a gravity, a pull, a destiny, and when you stop fighting the current, you begin to glide toward it. What once felt impossible becomes inevitable. You realize your life was never random. Every moment was a teacher, every heartbreak a doorway, every loss a clearing, every confusion a preparation. The universe was sculpting you, not destroying you. But you could only see that once your vision was no longer filtered through fear. And yes, the world still appears chaotic. Yes, people still sleepwalk through habit and noise and ego-driven performance. Yes, society still worships noise over knowing. But now you see the deeper pattern. Human chaos is not failure. It is evolution in slow motion. The world is not broken. It is becoming. And your awakening is not rebellion against reality. It is a contribution to its unfolding. Do not hold anger toward those who sleep. You once slept too. Do not judge those clinging to illusions. Illusions once comforted you. Remember your own journey. Humility is the crown of the awakened. Real strength never humiliates. It liberates. You are not here to fight the unconscious world. You are here to illuminate it simply by existing fully. As your inner silence deepens, you begin to hear life speak to you in ways language cannot grasp, in the way light moves through leaves, in the pause between heartbeats, in the breath before a thought, in the feeling of standing alone under a sky. Why so vast that even your questions dissolve? You realize communication with the universe does not require words. It requires awareness. The universe speaks in subtle pulses, in intuition, in synchronicity, in sudden knowing that arrives without reason. And as you listen, you feel it, the quiet, the certainty, the profound intelligence breathing beneath everything. You stop worshiping knowledge and start valuing awareness. Knowledge fills minds. Awareness frees them. Knowledge is acquired. Awareness is remembered. Knowledge divides. Awareness unites. Knowledge ends. Awareness continues after the final breath. This is not philosophy. It is being. And one day you will notice you're no longer trying to become anything. You're no longer chasing purpose. You're expressing purpose. You're no longer seeking meaning. You're radiating meaning. Your presence becomes your teaching. Your stillness becomes your power. Your life becomes your message. Not because you speak louder, but because you exist truer. And yes, the world will still misunderstand you. Not everyone is ready to see beyond the veil, and that is all right. You are not here to convince anyone. You are here to embody truth, and truth does not need marketing. It shines. Consciousness does not need applause. It transforms. Light does not argue with darkness. It simply exists, and darkness dissolves. You become a quiet revolution, a slow brightness, a gentle earthquake, and in this clarity, another realization emerges. The most liberating of all, there is nothing to fear. Not rejection, not failure, not time, not even death. Fear only exists for those who believe life can be taken away, but once you know you are life itself, eternal, observing, present before birth and after breath, fear becomes impossible. Not because life becomes safe, but because you finally understand it was always more than survival. Death is not an ending, it is a transition. Consciousness does not collapse, it shifts. Identity dissolves, but awareness remains. You do not go anywhere. You simply return to what you always were. And when a human realizes this fully, they become unstoppable, not reckless, not arrogant, but deeply grounded in freedom. For what can the world threaten when you no longer cling to form? What can fear whisper when you are no longer hypnotized by fragility? What can doubt steal when you stand rooted in presence? And in this state, love transforms too. Not the sentimental love of dependency, but the cosmic love of recognition. You look into others and see yourself. You look at existence and see your own reflection. You do not need to possess anyone, because what you are cannot be owned and cannot lose. Love stops being a transaction and becomes a vibration. Love stops being scarcity and becomes abundance. Love stops being a need and becomes a state of being. This is freedom. And freedom is not rebellion against the world. It is alignment with reality. So here you stand, not who you were, not who you pretended to be, but who you always have been beneath the noise. The observer, the dreamer, the space in which all things appear and fade. You are the awareness, witnessing the play. You are the consciousness wearing a body, tasting time, experiencing form, but never trapped in it. And from this height you finally understand you were never becoming. You were remembering, you were peeling away the layers of forgetting until only truth remained. You were dissolving the illusion of separateness until only unity stood. You were waking from a long dream, and the dream was necessary, because without forgetting, remembering has no meaning. Without limitation, expansion has no flavor. Without illusion, truth has no power. This is the cosmic game. This is the divine paradox. You chose to forget so you could experience the wonder of rediscovery. You chose the maze so you could feel the triumph of finding the center. You chose the darkness so you could remember your own light. And now you see, now you know, not intellectually, existentially. And there is only one thing left. Live it. Live awake, live aware, live fearlessly, live truthfully, live as the presence behind the persona, the soul behind the story, the infinity inside the temporary shape of a human life. Walk through the world not as someone seeking, but as someone remembering. Not as someone surviving, but as someone being. Let your existence be the message. Let your silence teach louder than your voice ever could. Let your presence shift rooms. Let your clarity unsettle illusions. Let your love remind others what they are. And when your time in this body ends, do not mourn, celebrate. For you will not fall into darkness. You will rise into yourself. You will not disappear, you will return home. You will not end, you will expand beyond the need for form. So breathe deeply, stand tall, move through life with grace and astonishment. For you are not here to become extraordinary, you already are. You are not here to find meaning, you are meaning. You are not here to chase awakening, you are awakening moving through flesh. The universe did not place you here as an accident. It placed you here as a flame, burn quietly, burn brightly, and when the world forgets what it is, be the one who remembers.